His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the spiritual master who knows the absolute truth, arrives on time in a blue Volkswagen Kombi van. For members of the Hare Krishna sect, it's the first coming. For the press, just another Indian mystic. And for the Pennington mob, another curious visitor.
Ravipalayantam Chintamani Prapadasadmasu.
1979, Buckingham Street, Surrey Hills. Sri Sri Radha Gopinath have recently relocated to our new Kola River farm. Soon after, the devotees were evicted from Buckingham Street. They remain without a temple for 3 months. Eventually, Vasishrestha and then Ramaya Brahmachari locate 112 Darlinghurst Road. It's for sale and also for lease. The landlord's wife likes the idea that devotees put forward of opening a drop-in centre and offer them a 50% reduction in rent. A lease is signed. And then in spring 1979, Sri Sri Gaurnitai and all the devotees move into their new downtown centre.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hello, thanks for joining us. In the past, we've shown you on a number of occasions members of the Hare Krishna movement collecting money on the street.
As we were called about. We've been watching them for about an hour, and about 3/4 of the people who they ask for donations decline to give them. The other quarter do give them, and this is what they're told when they do.
She pinned a flower and told me that I was giving to all, it's from Derelict Society in King's Cross, and asked me if I'd give her $1. And I said, no, I'd give you 50 cents.
Would it surprise you if I told you they were Hare Krishnas? Did she say she was a Hare Krishna?
No, I don't know. I can't say.
You don't remember it?
No.
Yeah.
She was just coming out with all these things, pin and razors all over me.
Well, if they ask, ISKCON is written all over a badge.
Yes, but who knows what ISKCON is?
Generally speaking, people do.
Pardon?
You tell us where the money goes.
Mike Willis.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Where
Hare
does the money
Rama,
go?
Hare Rama,
Can you tell me where the money goes?
Hare Hare.
When they started walking away, they started singing Hare Krishna, and they didn't say anything to us about being Hare Krishna.
You have to run away.
Demon, Mike Willis.
I'm not Mike Willis, I'm not a demon. I'm trying to find out why you don't tell people who you're collecting money from.
My goodness, I'm a demon. Hare Krishna's unpopular. Once you face up to the
How
fact
long are you going to beat a dead horse for? You've been on this for 4 years.
Yeah, well, people
the
keep
same
calling
old
us.
thing every week. Why don't you say you're Hare Krishna? We're ISKCON. We want to tell everybody in the world, but actually we're ISKCON. Let us get on with the work. ISKCON means the Hare Krishna movement.
Right,
ISKCON is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness.
Talking about deception.
Well, you're involved in deceiving people.
Yeah,
All
well,
the time. Your men don't declare immediately that I'm Mike Willisy. Your man comes up, he's in disguise, he's got a microphone hidden under his shirt, and he comes up to somebody and questions him in such a way as if he's just an ordinary member of the public.
because
and
somehow
actually
they're
part of Mike
illegally
Willis.
collecting money from people who don't know who they're giving money to. You know, people have a guilty conscience about giving
Why
money to charities.
why don't you come down and show people what we're doing at Makunda's? That's what I've asked you to do.
You ask people for money in the street, don't you?
Yeah.
What happens to that money?
All the money that we collect on the street is for our Makunda's drop-in centre where we feed homeless people, derelicts, drug addicts, just anybody who wants a meal. Anybody can come. You don't even have to be homeless or derelict.
And it's free.
Free. Anybody can come as many times as they like.
And I think spiritual centres like the Hare Krishna Centre are invaluable, not only invaluable, I think absolutely necessary to deal with a kind of harshness in our society today.
What was seen is very different from the Salvation Army soup kitchen.
Well, actually, you've hit the nail on the head. In a way, the Hare Krishnas are the updating of the Salvation Army. You see, the music is a factor of their whole presentation. The uniform, or the way they dress, is in a kind of a uniform. And not only that, the smiling face, the generous attitude, and of course the spiritual word of encouragement. All of that is virtually what the Hare Krishnas have become to the world in the 20th century, the Salvation Army, although the Salvation Army is working up here, and it still has a job to do. But Hare Krishnas, in a way, I think in the 21st century will fulfill the role that the Salvation Army fulfilled, say, in the 18th and 19th centuries.
And you applaud that service?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we lose sight of the fact that all of our welfare work begins with spiritual activities such as this. The real welfare work in the world began with places like this temple. This is the real spiritual work of this city at this moment, and the real welfare work, because it's not just a handout. It's a handout with something else, human compassion, and it gives welfare a human face.
Why do you come here?
Because, you need to eat.
Sure.
And you don't have any money.
It's a really good cause. I might nip in there after recording and have a little nosh.
City to surf. Who can forget? So much fun. We'd stay up most of the night chopping up oranges, load them into a van, drive them to the finish line and park them under a pedestrian bridge out of sight. The next morning we would go down to William Street and start up a big, quick, enthusiastic kirtan for all the fast runners that would come by, the competitive ones, and then we'd slow the tempo down for the slower runners, those in wheelchairs and ski boots and gorilla suits, all sorts of weird things. Soon after, we would jump into our cars and zoom down the back streets to the finish line, grab our prasadam oranges, and then hop out and be waiting at the finish line. And as people would cross the line, they would receive prasadam. So wonderful. They thought there was hundreds of us. We were everywhere. It was the same little crew from Darlinghurst. So much fun, so wonderful. Thousands of people heard the holy name and received prasadam.
The woman from India was killed instantly when the wheels of the float ran over her head at the beginning of the festival this morning. The float was just about to begin its journey through the city as part of the religious group's Festival of Chariots when the accident happened.
She stepped forward and didn't see that she was stepping into the path of one of the wheels in the chariot. So without knowing that, she got her foot caught and then she fell down and the wheel unfortunately ran up her and crushed her.
The procession did eventually take place, but without the two chariots. Instead, the singing, dancing crowd pulled their statue of Lord Krishna on a small trolley through the streets of the city centre.
The Orange people, or Rajneeshis, as they're also called, are a more recent arrival. But people are now confusing the Hare Krishnas with the Orange people, and even abusing Krishnas on the street. And the Krishnas don't like being mixed up with what they regard as a bunch of non-religious upstarts.
Do you know what religion they belong to? Orange people?
I think it would be orange.
Orange
You know, the
people.
I think so.
Hare Krishna? Yeah. What do you think?
Orange person?
An orange person.
Yeah.
Why do you think an orange person?
Still wearing orange robes.
Orange people, that's all that we call them.
It's like a big insult, actually, for a Hare Krishna. It's the worst. If you want to insult a Hare Krishna, call him a Rajneesh.
1981 Air Italia. 120 devotees fly to India together. The New Govardhan and Brisbane devotees fly domestically to Sydney and are joined by the Sydney and Cola River devotees on Air Italia. We then fly on to Melbourne, and the Adelaide and Melbourne devotees get on, then finally across to Perth, and the Perth devotees get on, and we fly on to Bombay. Up in the air, it's time for meal. What the crew didn't realise, the devotees had carried on buckets of prasadam and gulabs and samosas and so many things, and they started serving out a feast. And they were coming down the aisles with their trolleys full of vegetarian meals and demanding that we take them. You must have, you must have. We said, no, we'll be okay, mate, we'll get our prasadam. So we feasted away, and somehow or other, we got to Bombay. On the return flight, about 3.5 weeks or so later, we flew out of Delhi, and we jumped on the plane, and we look up, and it's the same crew, and they look at us and they go, God, what are these people going to do this time? They had no idea. We were fired up. We'd just been to India, we'd bought so many things, and we were carrying a lot of them on board with us, things like madangas, gongs, wampas, and cartels. And what do devotees do when they fly, when the plane takes off? Yes, we chant the Sringadev prayers. 120 devotees singing at the top of their lungs the Sringadev prayers with gongs, wampas, cartels, and madangas on a plane. It was so loud, so loud. The crew were trying to communicate with us, but we could not hear them. We were totally drowned out. We weren't sure what the pilot was going to do, whether he was going to put the thing on an autopilot and jump out with a parachute himself. You know, the little old ladies came back from Rome. I don't know what they were thinking. They were probably having puppies, you know. It was so loud, so wonderful, and very memorable. You could imagine 120 devotees with instruments chanting Lord Sringadev on an aeroplane. Those were the days.
They were traffic stoppers. Now, for the most part, the Hare Krishnas are taken for granted. Today, though, the Haris took Krishna to the masses in a really big way. In morning newspapers across the country, sober papers like The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald, this lift-out appeared. It's cost the Hare Krishnas $300,000. Now, this is glossy corporate image advertising, and there's no mistaking the image they're selling here. All the virtues and the achievements of the Hare Krishna way of life are in here. There's even a coupon for a free meal at the local Hare Krishna restaurant.
The colour brochure to be inserted in tomorrow's newspapers is the result of months of planning by SEC members, who include the creative director of one of Australia's largest advertising agencies. They have their own building designers, even a public relations man to handle media contacts.
Brian, first I should start with you. This is quite an elaborate campaign. You're spending over $90 million. Here's the supplement here, a very, very expensive supplement. Where is the money coming from?
Well, the actual supplement cost a little over $300,000, which was quite inexpensive, really. It was all produced and done by devotees, and the funds were raised from our congregational members throughout Australia. They sort of felt it was about time that their fellow Australians knew a little bit about their beliefs and practices and just sort of how far the Hare Krishna movement has come. So it was sort of a combined effort, you might say, from all of the devotees throughout Australia.
This is the very top floor of the Darlinghurst building. It's been used as a temporary temple room, whilst downstairs has been fully renovated. for the highly anticipated return of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Back in 1981, during our famous Air Italia trip to India, whilst in Mayapur, we received distressing news from Darlinghurst. The landlord had decided to sell the building and we were getting evicted. There and then in Mayapur, the Sindhi devotees met with our leaders, and it was decided that we would go back to Australia, do a 3-month marathon and purchase the building for the pleasure of their lordships. The old original timber floors have been ripped out and replaced by new foundations, slab and a beautiful marble floor for the pleasure of their lordships. The finishing touches the devotees have been renovating for many months. Sri Sri Radha Gopinath will be arriving very soon.
Kandar ako ikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyan.
It's like going to Hawaii. Oh. What do I call you? Bhagavat. Bhagavat. Yeah. I call you. Yes, a lot of people think that you're even worse than Bhagavats.
A lot of people do. Spiritual entities are by nature full of knowledge and full of bliss and eternal. But due to our long association with this material world, we've forgotten that relationship that we have with Krishna in the spiritual world. So this sound vibration purifies the heart, purifies the mind, so that gradually as one chants and develops his attachment to Krishna, he begins to remember his relationship with Krishna.
So this is a sort of a form of meditation?
Oh yes, definitely.
So when we listen to this, we should do our best to meditate and think?
No, don't think, just listen.
Just listen.
And we come from all different countries around the world. I myself came from Egypt originally.
Beginning, people were a little bit wary, a little bit suspicious. Anything new, I suppose, anyone would be a little suspicious. Generally now, there's a great acceptance of the Hare Krishna movement.
My name's Chitta Hari Das.
Chitta Hari Das.
Yeah.
Does that mean anything?
Yeah, Chitta Hari means, it's a name for Krishna, just as you see here, Krishna means he who steals away the heart, and Das means servant, so I'm the servant of the one who steals away your heart, or Krishna, or God.
Of course, some people say, oh, there they go again, making that terrible din. Do you find that you get a lot of resistance by people if you disturb them in the streets, or do you feel it's a means of communication?
No, it's a means of communication. Actually, a lot of people like to see us chanting, and it's an opportunity for them to approach us. Do you know, when between chanting times, but just the general public to see us, and we find a lot of people like to join in.
But all those meals cost money. Where does it come from?
Yeah, well, God is signing the checks. He may not personally sign them, but through different means, he's making so much wealth available for these purposes. Quite wealthy, nice car, nice possessions. I could see that all these things actually weren't giving me inner satisfaction. I wasn't becoming happy.
All our activities have one common point. So it's a very strong relationship, and the purpose of the relationship, firstly, is to develop your love for God, and then simultaneously, we become very happy.
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
করুণা বহুদই জন পরম করুণা বহুদই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র পরম করুণা পরম করুণা বহুদই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র পরম করুণা বহুদই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র সব অবতার সার শিরোমণি কেবল আনন্দ কন্দায় পরম করুণা বহুদই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র সব অবতার সার শিরোমণি কেবল আনন্দ কন্দায় অবতারের শিরোমণি সবে অবতারের শিরোমণি নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র আমার সবে অবতারের শিরোমণি নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র আমার সবে অবতারের শিরোমণি পরম করুণা বহুদই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র সময় অবতার সার শিরোমণি কেবল আনন্দ কন্দায় ভজ ভজ ভাই চৈতন্য নিতাই সুধীর বিশ্বাস করি ভজ ভজ ভাই চৈতন্য নিতাই সুধীর বিশ্বাস করি বিষয় ছাড়িয়া বিষয় ছাড়িয়া তেরা সে মজিয়া মুখে বল হরি হরি বিষয় ছাড়িয়া তেরা সে মজিয়া মুখে বল হরি হরি পরম করুণা বহুদই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র সবয়াবতার সার শিরোমণি কেবল আনন্দ কন্দায় सब अवतार सरसी रमणी केवल परम करुणा कहूँ दे जना निताई गौर चंद्र